Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining me today. Today, we're going to talk about somebody you probably never heard of, but you should know who she was. Her name was Jean Seberg. She was a very famous actress in the 60s. And the reason we're going to talk about her is because of her involvement with the FBI. The FBI had a counter-Intelpro operation against her, basically because she did nothing wrong, but she did give money to the NAACP and Native American charities. And Hoover, who was in charge of the FBI in those days, didn't like people who did things like that. Okay, you can go read about it. In fact, they actually, in this whole case, as you can see looking over here, they have the FBI papers. They are out there for you to read. So you can check everything that I'm going to tell you. Um, what they did to her is basically had her stalked. In fact, there was one story where she was sitting in a restaurant with one of her friends, and she looked over, and there was a guy sitting at a table, and she looked at the friends. Now, friends had no idea about this FBI counter-intelpro operation against her, so she looked at the friend. Fred said, "You see that guy over there? He's with the FBI. He's with the feds, and he's stalking me." Now, of course, her friends had no idea, and her friends started thinking that she was crazy, and that's just what the FBI wanted. If you're a target of gang stalking, they will do things to make you look like you're a kook, because they don't want anybody believing you when you report what they're actually doing to you. So she received, in fact, there were some articles that came out later, and her friends were feeling really bad in some of the articles that they didn't believe her because she actually was being harassed by Hoover and the FBI. But sadly, they thought she was kook when she tried to tell everybody. So, when you look at what J. Edgar Hoover did to her, which is harassing, intimidating, defaming her. She was blacklisted from Hollywood, and I'm really upset that Hollywood did this. They did what Hoover wanted and made it so she couldn't make any more money. And that's what actually this type of blacklisting does. They like to take away people's financial support. They just want to remove it and drive the person. Basically, what it is, this type of counter-intelpro, they want to drive the person crazy without touching them physically. It actually, if you do a history look at it, they actually started, I believe the KKK started doing that to civil rights leaders. They could, mess with their heads, mess with their lives, drive them nuts without actually touching them. In fact, if you want, there's a lot of articles online on how this counter-intelpro works. It might help you, to take a look on it. But that's a digression. What we're going to do is we're going to look at the story about here in 1970, the FBI created a false story that Jean Seberg was pregnant, and it wasn't fathered by her husband, but by a member of the Black Panther Party. It wasn't true, of course. But this is part of counter-intelpro. They have to destroy your life. They have to have smear campaigns. It's all about lying. And this is one of the reasons I would like everybody out there. And one of the reasons I like this is because, we're going to have AI out there. And I've seen some of the ring hacking videos out there. Oh, crap. The stuff that's being done. So the more of you guys know about this stuff, that it's real and it's out there, the better. In case a member of your family or friend circle experiences stuff, you're going to know, hey, they're not a kook. This stuff really happens. All right, so if you take a look at this section here in Wiki, and they also have the accompanying FBI documents over here, you can actually see, all right, what they basically did to her. And there's also a rumor. Well, what they basically do is to drive you nuts is they provide you with a handler. All right. A handler is somebody who knows everything about you. All right. They know everything and they're trained to know everything about you so they can marry you. Whoops, sorry folks, I'm going to interject something in a moment just to perform an example of what I just mentioned about activists, you know, people who are targeted like activists and such marrying a handler. This actually went to court. There's actually a bunch of others online that I actually came across when I was looking for this example. But an activist was deceived into a relationship with an undercover officer. She won the case. All right. So basically, the guy was actually married to another woman, but she was his undercover assignment. So, yeah. Um, so it says here that the tribunal has found that Kate Wilson's human rights were breached after she was deceived into a relationship with a married undercover officer who had been sent to spy on the activists. So just in case, I like to put, because a lot of this gang stalk stuff sounds so crazy. I always like when I do a video on it or something, I like to put examples in. So, do a search. I think there's some more of them out there. That's true. And keep an eye on you. They don't love you at all, but the FBI actually will have a handler. And some have thought that Hasney was her handler, because what he did is he started telling people she was crazy, she was suicidal. He took a piece of property that she owned, sold it, didn't give her the money. It's a little suspicious. So we don't know exactly if he was a handler from the FBI. But yeah, so that stuff is real. In case you ever hear the term handler, yeah, yeah, that has been done in Counter Intelpro. They find somebody they have to keep an eye on, they will find a mate for that person, the most perfect person ever, and have them marry the target, to keep an eye on them and see who they're talking to and such. Um, so she ended up spending the rest of her life in Paris, and as you can see, she was actually, like I said, blacklisted from Hollywood, which she didn't deserve, and it was all J. Edgar Hoover doing it to her. All right, so um, after in fact they did, it's called defamation. They made they wanted to distance herself. If you can see right here, 6 days after the discovery of Seberg's body, the FBI released documents admitting its defamation. All right here. The FBI released documents admitting its defamation of Seberg. Okay, while also saying they were trying to distance themselves from the Hoover era. The Hoover did a lot of this crap, people. He did a lot. He did not like civil rights activists. He didn't like anybody because when you're a person who gives money to something like civil rights, Native Americans, basically you are encouraging their freedom. You want to help them break free from the system. You're a control freak like Hoover. You don't want people free from the system. You want them under your thumb. So, all right, so media attention surrounding the FBI's abuse of Seberg led to an examination. All right, there you go. Of the case by the Church Commission of the United States Senate, which noted that despite the FBI's claims of reform, here's the big one here, folks. This is what we're going to look at. Despite the FBI's claims, oh, reform, we're not doing that anymore. Counter Intelpro activities may continue today under this investigation. In fact, some people with the Patriot Act, they're concerned about that. You know, will the Patriot Act allow this type of behavior? So in case you know of anybody who's getting called crazy or there's weird things or there's a smear campaign around them, take note of Gene Seberg and realize that, yeah, this stuff happens. And sometimes when you read about it, like I got really deep into it and reading about it, and a lot of times they do it to really nice people. And nobody knows why. Nobody knows why. So check up CounterIntelPro. Check up things like gang stalking. and such. And you're going to read and see a lot of stuff. So, like I said, it's really important, especially we're entering an age of artificial intelligence where people can hack into your Ring, your porch camera, the Ring, or they can hack into your security cameras and such. And actually, it doesn't have to be the FBI doing all this stuff. It can actually be some kid in the basement. So make yourself aware of it, protect your families, and read more about Jean Seberg. Appreciate her and the hell that she was put through just because Hoover didn't like her. That's it. Have a good day.